it's really signaling something. And I think the things that it is signaling are interest rates probably are coming down. I think what many people are not focused on in the inflation statistics are the housing numbers, and they get in there with a long lag. We think that the shift or the concentration towards just a very few stocks, which was a very unhealthy bull market, that is changing and the market is broadening out. And I think deregulation is probably one of the most important things that this administration is doing to unleash animal spirits.
You know, you talked about the inflation picture and interest rates. We just had another guest on the broadcast that said the opposite.
If you will allow me to call this that. I know many people think we never went into any kind of slump, but we have sector by sector. What typically happens when you come out of a recovery is productivity kicks in because companies have been very conservative and especially amid all of the uncertainty. So productivity kicks in and actually drives inflation down much lower than anybody anticipates. And I think that's going to happen this time as well.
Cathie, want to talk Tesla, want to talk Elon Musk. He's been making some more public comments again about the quote-unquote big, beautiful bill. He's opposed, of course. But I'm so curious just what you've been thinking as you've watched all of this play out the past couple of months, the politics of it all, the impact potentially on Tesla, his now doubling down on Tesla, but where this all goes.
Form space exploration, really address some incredibly difficult health issues with Neuralink, and introduce productivity the likes we have never seen with humanoid robots. So I think at the end of the day, he'll become very focused on those very difficult problems, and this too shall pass.
Do you think that he's going to be out there effectively financing folks, financing campaigns to primary individuals who vote in favor of this bill? And if he does that, and whatever time and attention that takes and whatever you think about the politics of that, does that impact Tesla or any of the businesses or other ventures that he's pursuing?
Well, I guess in terms of dependent, we were thinking and still think that will move up to the federal level. So maybe that's in question very short term, but we think it makes sense for the United States if we want to be number one in autonomous travel. FDA is another consideration when it comes to Neuralink. You know, I think what's happening is pretty miraculous if you've been following Neuralink. And the FDA, if anything, I think we've been most surprised by the deregulation that is taking place within healthcare and the desire of the leaders in healthcare to really either cure disease, get rid of chronic conditions. So, you know, Elon Musk is contributing to that cause.
Performing subsector for 20 years, actually doing almost 160,000% return. And then in the late 90s, 2000s, the big story arc was internet, which is thematic because anybody who made money in retail would have thought the internet was a terrible idea. And so young people bought the internet story arc, and internet stocks have been amazing. And social media was the next wave. So we said, let's think about the themes that drive markets for the next 10 years. And we created a research portfolio called Granny Shots, which identified these 7 important themes. And we update that every year. But that initial theme-based portfolio was labor shortage, because in 2018 we said there was a global labor shortage coming. It's the correct physics way to do it. It doesn't look sexy.
Oh, hence the granny shots.
Correct.
That's the what, because you're talking about the underhanded free throw. Yeah.
And it doesn't look great, but it makes 90% of the shots. So we said a granny shot is one where a stock is tied to 2 themes, because now you're not sort of saying I'm putting it all into AI or all into cybersecurity. And ideally it's 3 or 4. So our granny shot says a stock to be included has to be at least in 2 themes. And we end up with 35 stocks of the S&P 500. And we're saying the other 465 are good, but these 35 are tied to the 7 most important themes driving the stock market.
All right, so this is a mix of qualitative fundamental analysis and quantitative box checking, if you will,
Correct.
things that meet certain parameters. When you think about the way, Tom, that you construct the portfolio, you're talking about under 10.
That because we have siloed portfolios of 60, 70 stocks each. And sometimes we wonder, wait, are we going to end up with like 5 granny shots? But we always end up with like 30.
All right.
And we rebalance every quarter. But it is very fortunate. And it starts to pick up some really important themes. Like when we started to think about millennials, then it had us focus on things like Robinhood. And, you know, NVIDIA, because of labor shortage, was included since 2019. And Tesla was an AI automation play at the time. So Tesla and NVIDIA are examples of, we told our clients, these are granny shots, don't think about trading them because they're tied to really important story arcs.
All right, Dave, the idea of thematic investing is not new at all. In fact, the ETF market.
What we were wrong, that theme isn't really what's going to drive markets, or this is exhausted. We've exhausted the potential revenue from this theme. We need to now come up with another bucket for those granny shots. Yes.
Well, that's where FundStrat's research team comes into play. We have about 20 research analysts, and we know there's expiration dates. I mean, think about biotech in 2016. If that was a granny shot theme that had an expiration date, we never did something with COVID or the GLP-1s. We were thinking about that. Are these 10-year story arcs or are these 1 or 2 year? And we decided these were sort of 1 or 2 year. So to us, there is going to be expiration dates. One thing's very obvious to me is when I look at the wireless industry, I grew up as a wireless analyst, and I covered that industry for 17 years, went from 34 million users to 9 billion. So Hyper, bottom 5, and Tireless Ken is our data scientist, and we're constantly reviewing themes. And, you know, stay tuned. We have 7 themes. Maybe we'll go to 8 themes, but we might delete a theme. And, you know, for now, I'm comfortable that energy security, you know, these are durable themes. There is one that we're almost positive we're going to launch with. And, I mean,
what's it going to be? That's your tease. You got to beg. What begs the question? What is it?
Well, you know, we're trying to be, you know, looking ahead 10 years, and there is something very obvious to everyone here. So I don't mind sharing it because the way we express it might be unique. Is that well, there's 2. The first one is what I'd call sovereign security. I think it's now evident to me that the mechanisms are in motion for companies to really fix their supply chain demographic theme to kind of orient towards the younger cohorts. And so these are important adjustments that we're playing with, but when we turn it on, it may not be for a couple years, but I'm kind of sharing our thought process.
It's interesting too, Dave. The thought process that Tom just shared took us through the real world evolution of how you evolve or actively manage, if you will, an investment strategy, speaking to the point about actively managed ETFs taking more and more market share. The active management philosophy, is that one that can get as much traction 5, 7, 10 years from now as the passive management side or indexing side of things had in that first 5, 10 years of the ETF life existence
Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and enabling post notifications for more content on crypto and digital assets. Check out our other videos and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps with the YouTube algorithm and keeps the content coming. Thanks for your support. Enjoy the video.